framed as an in-depth decision by the council.
All right, let's record.
Why is this like a
Running out of time.
half-hour long TikTok?
It's 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
This is your average.
The recording
NDP
seems
talk.
to be working, so we
right.
got the mic running. It's
Is it
good.
recording now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started. Welcome back to Theory Night in Canada. Let's get started with the Mississauga mayoral election.
Yeah, well, I guess we just say a quick hi, and we do have another guest. We got another guest for this episode. We got Liam.
Hello.
It's Pride Month, and I gotta say, more than anyone I know, Liam loves being gay.
Yes,
So-
That is true. Some people don't like being gay.
Yeah.
Some people like it a little too much.
I
As they
think-
say, sexuality is a spectrum, which means there is one gayest person in the world at the
Yeah.
far edge of that spectrum.
Yeah.
And we have him on the podcast today.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm glad that the gayest man in the world loves
Yeah.
being gay. It would be really sad if
Yeah.
he didn't. That'd be one of the most depressing existences of all time.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on as your token gay guest for Pride Month.
Fellas, we did it. We got
Look,
him.
Trudeau's Canada. Trudeau's Canada. We've got this. Actually, I somehow, like, despite thinking, oh, we could totally do like an episode that talks about Pride, I looked into nothing for this one at all. Like, I'm shocked. Usually, I would like try to look into something, see what Trudeau said, and just like rag on Trudeau, because like everyone loves ragging on Trudeau. You know, it's just so easy. But no, I didn't even get that far. But actually, though, in Trudeau's Canada, traffic is really hard to get to your podcast.
That is true.
It's so bad. If Trudeau doesn't promise to make the traffic on the way to my podcast better, I'm not voting for him.
True. So true. Also, Trudeau's Canada, just last year, this is hyperinflation, by the way.
Yeah.
Trudeau's Canada, last year, Mary Brown's Chicken had a promotion, okay? It was called the Batter's Box. It was Blue Jays themed. You got a whole chicken split into parts and then deep fried.
Oh.
Came with 4 servings of fries as well.
Yeah.
Okay? They used the image of the fattest Blue Jays player on the roster at the time, Alec Manoah, on the box, right? It was $18 for a whole chicken deep fried, right?
Yeah.
Mary Brown's is bringing it back today, $22.
Jesus
Damn.
Christ. This is worse than me. Like.
Is it same portions of fries though? Still set for?
Yeah, it's still
Okay.
it's the same deal.
Yeah.
I'm shocked you even get fries, frankly.
Hyperinflation. This is Zimbabwe shit.
Speaking of ragging on Trudeau, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, almost a decade ago, right after Trump got elected, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, I don't really like it when comedians rag on Trump, because it's just too easy.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel that for Trudeau.
Honestly, you are right. I have to say that like the run that comedians had through the like Trump election lead up, and then like here and there were good parts of his presidency, like when he threatened to nuke like a hurricane.
Yeah.
Like that was
That's
good.
pretty good, yeah.
But the issue is like trying to make comedy out of something that is already comedic. You're taking second stage.
Yes.
Like you're trying to make a joke out of someone who's doing something infinitely funnier than what you do. But also like they only had one joke for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Although the comedy writes itself because the funniest part of his presidency was him getting COVID.
That is, yeah, see, the thing is, Trump is funnier than the stand-up comedians making fun of him usually are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is like, but also a Republican president in general is not good for comedy because the Republicans are like dumb, right? And so they're always doing something funny.
Yeah.
And then also the average stand-up comedy audience is fairly liberal.
Yeah.
Right? So it comes off as sort of
Pretentious.
preaching to the choir almost. Like the audience
Yeah.
is laughing because they have to laugh, not because they actually find it funny.
Yeah.
When Trump got COVID, was he doing that thing where he was like trying to cough on Biden?
I think this was before
It was
the.
before, yeah.
No, wait.
Before?
It was before.
No, it was when the thing was already started.
It was during the campaign, but he was like isolated. Biden wasn't like fully picked. If I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like if
You
Trump,
also have to go to the hospital for it.
yes, he got that super medicine.
Did I just miss this?
This is early 2020. I mean, to be fair, everyone was dealing with a different thing at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a chance I just completely missed this actually, which eliminates it from being the funniest spot for me. I'm gonna stick with.
Honestly,
I'm
looking
gonna
at the
stick
sun,
with nuking the hurricane.
looking at the sun before like the peak of the eclipse,
Yeah.
just straight at the regular sun, basically.
Yeah.
That's another great Trump moment.
I personally, I'm the biggest fan of the RBG.
Oh my God!
That's amazing.
Yes, how could I forget?
That was
the
amazing.
hearing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg death live clip
Yeah.
might be the funniest moment in
And
presidential
to be fair,
history.
He was fine. Like, he reacted normally.
It's like, oh,
But there's so much going on in the clip. It's on a tarmac. Tiny Dancer is playing in the original clip.
So good. It was just cinematic as hell.
Like, you see it and you're like, Tiny Dancer must be edited into this clip. No, Tiny Dancer is just playing from speakers on the tarmac.
Oh, really? He died? She died?
Wow, you're telling me this for the first time?
Well, okay,
what can you
I
say?
guess
She
I
led a
won't do
great
full
life.
story, but
Amazing
Mexico
person.
did just have an election.
Yeah.
Where I think it was the same party won, but with a new person.
Morena.
Morena, yeah.
And I gotta say, that was another. The previous president had a peak moment of presidential
Goblin.
history.
No, there was
with,
multiple peak
with
moments.
the elves and shit.
Yes,
Elves.
the elf in his backyard.
The
We
dead
actually
alien.
covered this on an earlier
The
episode.
alien body.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Well, he had the saying of like, oh, I saw elves in the Yucatan Peninsula,
Yeah.
or like, and then there was the other one where he had the body of the alien showed off in context.
Yes.
I didn't know this was AMLO. I have a
Yeah, AMLO is like really funny.
little lore. I have an AMLO stuffy at home.
No
Oh my
way.
god.
I love little guy.
You need to show me it sometime.
Yeah, of course.
That man is so funny.
Honestly, is it always like this, or are we really going on a generational run for funny
No,
presidents right now?
it's been a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
in the past, I feel like presidents have been like intentionally funny, not
Berlusconi,
unintentionally
right? The
funny.
Italian guy was famous.
Berlusconi is
Yeah.
famous for a lot of gaffes.
I also, I sent you the thing a while ago where Berlusconi's like, everyone is gay, and I found out that I'm gay too, but that gay part is lesbian.
Yeah. Hero.
Trey Gaspar.
Say that you a lesbian, girl. Me too.
So speaking of politicians, we have an election much closer to home. We're going to cover the Mississauga mayoral race. What interesting characters do we have?
Yes, so there's 20 candidates. Unfortunately, not as many as Toronto. It is a by-election, so it is a bit hodgepodge as it is. I'm going to go through, not each one, because some of them are just not very interesting. But I want to
I
go through.
looked, and a lot of them just had like no website. Quite a handful of them
Yeah.
were running their like campaign on Facebook.
Yeah.
And if someone's doing that, it's not worth even
No.
taking a glance at. You
Yeah,
know?
this is sort of the
Loser
minor league
energy.
version of the Toronto mayoral election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's still like a similar proportion of just straight up schizophrenics running for office.
Yeah.
But even they are kind of less funny.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some fan favorites that have come back, which is awesome.
Yes.
You like,
Gong.
so for example, Natalie Jianjian, if you guys remember her, she was the one who got in trouble with the College of Chinese Medicine
Yeah.
from last election in Toronto.
Oh, I watched what was it like 5 hours of her
Yeah,
videos
that's the one.
where it was just her in her office, just like with just books and shit all around her, and she was just kind of like talking
Yeah.
about things and how like cool Chinese medicine is.
Was he the one whose platform was to like privilege Chinese medicine at the same level as
Something like
regular
that, yeah.
medicine?
Yeah. Which I think I said back then, I was like, you gotta
Sad.
respect the hustle. You know,
Like
you
4
truly
views.
believe in it, and I do respect that.
Yeah.
Your videos should not have been that long. I put like 40 hours into making that episode for
Well,
you guys.
there's actually an update on her life.
Right? Oh yeah, because she was in some legal trouble.
She was in a
right?
lot of legal trouble.
Yeah.
She got 19 lawsuits against her.
Yeah.
And then she she got sued, and then she sued them back for 19 lawsuits.
Good.
And then lost each one of the 19.
Oh my god.
No.
So she's sort of running for office as like sort of a Trump stay out of prison kind of
This
campaign.
is
Maybe.
such loser energy.
Can you even stay out of
19
prison at like mayor of Mississauga level?
I feel like, yeah, you know.
Well, she was thought to
I feel like
be
you could maybe get busted down a house arrest for the mayor. 'cause
I feel like you'd only get the stay out of prison privilege for the mayor of Mississauga if you're on like if you've been handpicked by someone way up there, and I think it's clear that she has not been.
So there's like a lot of random stories about her. For example, a patient went in undercover. Sorry, an investigator went in undercover as a patient, and the investigator told Jan she had a stomach ache. Jan then gave her a bottle of yellow pills that were not labeled. When asked about it, she only replied with the ingredients. It would not explain what is the yellow pills.
Yeah,
So, like,
horse cum.
if this woman becomes Mississauga mayor or Trump becomes the president after going to jail, are they going to have to, like, do phone calls from prison. Like they're gonna have to like call her on
The Zoom administration.
Yeah, they're gonna have to like. They're gonna have to like do visiting hours with her, where they like talk about what's going on in Mississauga, and she gives her thoughts.
What's gonna happen is I'm going to go into her like wherever she's doing her medical practice. I think Trey, you sent this to me.
Hamilton.
Like, was it like
Hamilton.
a physio place or like a?
It was in Hamilton. It was like it was a Chinese medicine place. Like that is a
Okay,
thing.
yeah. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna take one of every pill and just astrally project into her cell, and she's just going to be able to speak to my soul, and I'm gonna start saying the words. Like,
Wait, isn't
there won't be a
Saeed-
mic, but it'll come out of my mouth like a loudspeaker. You know?
Isn't Syed Jaffrey also a recurring character?
Yeah. So Syed Jaffrey was a PPC candidate from a while ago in Toronto.
Yeah.
Who famously said his favorite restaurant in Toronto is Red Lobster.
This guy.
Oh my god.
Right. To be fair,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
like, what are you supposed to? Like, he probably was telling the truth. Like, I don't think he was like, oh shit, I gotta pander to the Red Lobster lobby.
Well, if he loves it that much, he's probably single-handedly the guy that ran them out of bottomless shrimp. You know?
From what I've heard, that is not what caused them to fall.
No,
absolutely not.
Yeah.
It was
From what
just-
they got gutted by
yeah.
private equity or something.
Yeah, the land that they stood on was sold off by the private equity company, and then the Red Lobsters then had to rent it back from the company.
Red Lobster was only operating on razor thin margins because they owned land before this.
Yeah.
And now they have to rent the land, and
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, if you own the land, then
Yeah.
no commercial rent, so that saves you a lot.
He also believes that we should bail out all of our students from any kind of debt.
We should?
Yeah.
And this guy's a People's Party candidate.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean,
Interesting.
the
All
People's
right,
Party
all right.
was just like vaguely right-wing crackpot stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Now, the thing is, if this guy were to win, would he do like an A&W situation where A&W Canada was specifically cut off from the regular A&W and is now independent?
Or like
So now
Canada
he's
Toys
gonna,
R Us.
Yeah, he's gonna have like Red Lobster
wait,
Canada.
Canada's Toys R Us was separated?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it went
That's
under
why-
the States.
That's why we still have it, and they don't.
That explains. Okay. Interesting. 'cause
I
kept
went to
seeing that.
Toys R Us not too long ago, and it's not that great. Like I could see it going under.
This man has no sense of whimsy anymore.
It's look,
It's
I
important.
went in there and I was like, oh cool, let's look at all the toys that are us, and you know I like things. I like Legos. I think they're cool, and I'm not gonna lie, there were very few cool toys. I spotted many more amazing toys just walking around Walmart, and somehow I trust Walmart more. I don't really know why, but Toys R Us is just in a tough spot. I think the Toys R Us doesn't feel whimsy anymore. That's the issue.
I mean, you're also a lot older.
You're like 24.
Yes, but I can feel whimsy in a Walmart, and I can't feel it in Toys R Us.
Interesting take.
What's up
I
with
haven't
that?
been to a Toys R Us in long enough to tell if that's true or not.
I haven't been to a Walmart through Whimsical before.
Yeah.
I'm good with whimsy.
Who else we got besides this guy?
So we got, just confirm his name is David or John? George Tavares. He's the urbanist of the group from what I've seen.
Didn't I swear I heard that name before.
George Tavares.
Yeah, did I like fucking follow him on Twitter or something? I don't know. I'm like follow way too many like urbanist / YIMBY people on Twitter.
Well, I don't know how urbanist he's. I know he's
Oh wait, no, I think I'm confusing him with a Leafs player.
John Tavares. Yeah, fair enough.
I gotta say, Mississauga is extremely hit or miss with their urban stuff. You go to like one place and they have like the bike lanes everywhere. They have all these cutesy little local businesses, and it just feels absolutely amazing. And then you go like 3
Oh,
minutes
I see.
over, and you're just like in Brampton suddenly. Like not actually, but
yeah.
it's like all the roads are like 62 lanes wide.
You're thinking of Port Credit. I think I sent you there once.
Yeah.
Port
Yeah.
Credit is beautiful.
Port Credit's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's also because it was a town before Mississauga was
Well,
a thing.
Mississauga was amalgamated in the 60s, I want to say. So there's like 4 different towns in Mississauga.
Yeah, so like say in Etobicoke, like southern Etobicoke is really pretty
Yeah.
because Mimico and New Toronto were their own separate towns before.
Mm.
They were
Yeah.
folded into like the suburban hell that is much of Etobicoke.
Yeah.
No offense to any Etobicokeans here.
Tobians?
I mean, I'm saying this as someone who lives in Etobicoke.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can say. I can't say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're thinking of Port Credit. Streetsville's
Maybe.
another cute little place.
Oh, yeah,
Like
it's
that.
beautiful.
It's amazing.
But I swear, Who knows? Doesn't matter.
Etobicoke, then Mississauga. But poor credit's real nice.
So, here's a fun little fact of Mississauga. Around 80,000 homes have been approved, but the
Yeah.
developers are not developing it.
Good.
Why?
But we don't know. They're just not doing it.
I think-
There's
Well-
80,000 homes approved and no starts.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is like the fact that interest rates are,
Super
not
high.
rock bottom.
Yeah.
Super high, but today they were lowered by
0.25, yeah.
0.25, so
Was
it's now
0.00.
so like the high interest rates of 5% have kind of slowed building. Ontario itself has building has slowed down.
I've heard that. I've also heard, not officially, but I've heard that one of the reasons why developers don't want to build right now is because they know land is appreciating the value significantly.
Yeah.
So the longer you wait, the more money you'll be able to make off of each house anyways.
Yeah, that's also another thing. I mean, it's probably a combination of a
Yeah.
bunch of issues because also like high interest rates would make
Yes.
it more expensive to build, especially if you're building taller buildings.
Yes.
Like in central Mississauga around Square One.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing here a policy: use it or lose it for developers.
So that's becoming a big topic in the city where 80,000 units can be built right now, but they're not. And so I know some people are all like the use it or lose it policy he's saying, where if you don't approve it, the land's just taken back,
Yeah.
and you don't have the ability to develop those anymore.
I mean, like,
That's good.
It's a good idea.
We should
Yeah.
do that not only with development but also with housing, where if your house is empty, you'll just show up one day and like it's not yours anymore. So
you just have a government appointed squatter living in your second home.
like pretty much. I think
in
that
your
would be good.
Airbnb.
We would be able to immediately eliminate homelessness. Everyone would be so cool, and you wouldn't even get a letter in the mail. Just if you ever showed back up, you're not allowed in. The keys have been changed.
He also says eliminate parking minimums, bus stops should have information monitors, and bike and bus for free, where cyclists should be able to use buses for free.
Yeah. I think that's kind of nice actually.
I've
well,
never heard that before.
On one hand, cool, but on the other hand, it's like I generally put cyclists with pedestrians. It's like I don't get why you would put cyclists above pedestrians, and most people would walk to the bus, which makes them a pedestrian. You know?
Interesting.
I will say free public transit generally sounds great, but service can often suffer. So like say for example Luxembourg has free public transportation, but it's often like slow and inconsistent compared to paid European systems. Also, you'd have to have a lot more investment to offset fare costs, which I don't see any government in this country being willing to take on. So like for now, it's almost more like a pipe dream in terms of free transit.
Interesting.
Although at least Calgary's light rail train in the downtown core is
Yeah.
free of use. So like if you
so-
have like free areas,
So you can encourage it there and get people to funnel in.
yeah. But at least with Toronto, like Toronto's a much bigger city than
Yeah.
Calgary. It doesn't have any problem with ridership in the downtown core.
That's true. Now, I know, Spenny, when we talked about how we've been to Vancouver together. You love how the houses are all very different and unique there.
Yeah.
One thing he's proposing is that there should be a streamlined housing designs, where it's just you get this house, you get it built, it's just automatically approved, get it out of the door.
Yeah. This is something that I love the idea of if they put me in charge. Where it's like I would make a house and it would look cool and have soul, but I know that like they're gonna come up with the most kind of like McDonald's ass house. That's just gonna like be terrible. I think if we're gonna do like prefab housing like that, we need to go all or nothing, where we're either doing commie blocks to like
commie
perfect
blocks.
housing, or we just need to just have some general guidelines. I do like the idea of having like nudges towards a certain style of building, so that you could have some sort of personality for an era of a city. But that's like a take that I'm not gonna like stand there and defend it. It's just a cool idea.
I like it if certain neighbors have like a very specific house design that no one else in the has.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Liam.
Liam.
I think yesterday about like a new neighborhood that's popped up in Amsterdam, and it's really cool because every like block or different sections, it's not like squares. It's designed to have a look of Amsterdam in a certain time period.
Oh.
And they all look a little different and interact, and then have like, it just looks really interesting.
All right, that sounds.
And
like
I love the idea of that.
I
Keep
guess
going.
we gotta
We
move
should
on.
we should keep it moving with the mayor
Yeah.
because we've done
These
two.
guys were lucky to have such a consistent service as the TTC to get them here.
Okay, so we'll go from George Tavares straight to David Shaw. Now, David Shaw has the coolest mustache of anyone.
Picture
Okay.
this.
Yeah.
He looks like a Old West
Whoa.
banker.
He looks like a retired WWE guy.
Yeah.
We were talking before you shut up about him.
Yeah.
He's crazy. I love him.
So he does corporate stuff. He worked in the fire protection industry, certifying first line defense equipment, and he's also he also selected to officiate the National Women's Hockey League Championship for years, among his many other things, like he's umpire in chief for baseball and so forth. Now his policies, he really got famous because in 2020, he saw his city divide over unjustified COVID mandates that are not law,
Okay.
and he took it personally and decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
So he created National Citizens Inquiry.ca.
No way. He's the guy?
He's the guy behind that.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
So he has his policies running. Now I feel like, Spencer, could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you walk through the headlines? If you want to go past it, you can, but just walk through the headlines of his policies.
I'll read the. I'll
the
read
bolded
them.
parts, yeah.
To hold an inquiry into the COVID-19 mandates and lockdowns.
Like retroactively.
Yep.
As mayor, further COVID mandates by the provincial government, only suspended, not gone, will not be applied in Mississauga. If you don't accept a mandate, it may not apply to you. Black's Law.
You don't
To-
have to say the entire thing. You just like whatever.
I'm just reading like the header and then the little bolded section
Sure.
for a little extra. We don't have much time, but that's okay. To protect children, girls, and women's spaces. Not women's spaces. The 4 councillors running have supported this ideology and ignored the protest of parents, grandparents, and thousands of others on multiple occasions at City Hall this past summer. I was there in every rally listening to your concerns. I hear you. I will be the mayor on your side and bring back decency, morality, and common sense to our city. Abolish the 15-minute city project. Yes, Lord. Ask the councillors running in this mayoral race what they know about the end goal of the 15-minute city. It would be a shame if they do and a shame if they don't. As mayor, I will abolish the 15-minute city project. And there's a little picture saying 15-minute cities will go from convenient to why do you need to leave to you're not authorized to leave.
Yeah, it's
really
funny how
fast.
all of this, the right-wing schizos latching onto 15-minute cities, all goes back to one miscommunicated memo from the city of Oxford in England.
Yeah. Yeah.
This man is like the only transphobe on the right who actually seems to give a shit about women's sports.
Because he actually is deeply
Oh, yeah.
involved in
Yes,
women's
he's actually
sports.
involved in them. Like every other transphobe only seems to care about women's sports when there's trans women in it.
Yeah.
Every other time
Yeah.
they're like, what the fuck
This
is
guy's
this?
actually a referee for women's hockey.
What was that one 15-minute city thing that they all got it from where it was like, we need to see if this can work. So in order to make sure that like the experiment was happening, they did lock the people participating into 15-minute cities with
Really?
like consent.
Okay, that was
essentially, right?
it was Oxford, England was going to implement a 15-minute city pilot project. You were not locked in the city. You could leave,
Yeah.
but not by car. You would have an allowance to leave your neighborhood by car a few
Okay.
times a year. But like, other than that, you could only leave your neighborhood by foot or by bike.
I mean, that kind of seems almost like a boneheaded pilot.
Yeah,
it was a
Like,
bad pilot
it
idea.
does.
It was also miscommunicated. The original memo made it seem like you couldn't leave your neighborhood
At
under
all.
any circumstances.
I
Yeah.
must have just misread this, or
It should have
maybe I
been
was
just like
thinking about what it
closing
could have
certain
been.
roads to through
Yeah,
traffic.
I thought it was like a
Right?
science experiment where
Yeah.
people like signed in to do a
No,
pilot
no,
where
no,
they
no.
wouldn't
It was
leave,
just
but there you go.
implemented in certain areas.
Well, I can see why
Right.
there's so many skits
But
around.
but it led to like this huge meltdown in Oxford.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
over it because the people in the affected neighborhoods thought they were now being locked in, like literally they could not leave under any circumstances, even
Yeah.
though that wasn't actually what was happening. And you could also apply for like this pass that would radically increase the allowances to leave by car as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like if you could only travel by car, you could have certain like dispensations to still use your car. But
honestly, easily see the connection between 15-minute cities and communism, though. I can see that one.
And then
where you live in your 15-minute little commune.
Yeah.
Like a
Well,
little
didn't you know,
town,
like the
I
Soviet
think-
Union
But,
invented 15-minute cities?
Whoa.
the Oxford town council got accused of being like bought out by the WEF and like all this.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
worry,
yeah,
don't
yeah,
worry.
yeah,
Mississauga will not be bought out by the WEF, right,
Oh yeah,
Spencer?
I guess.
He does cover that, right?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, okay. To combat the destructive CRT, critical race theory, in our society, the bolded thing looks much less funny than the not bolded one. So I'm going to read the not bolded one. CRT is a wolf in sheep's clothing. While it claims to aim at achieving reparations for years of systemic discrimination against Black Canadians, the movement has proven to be toxic and divisive to society. CRT discriminates against white Canadians as oppressors based on the color of their skin, while training young generations of Black Canadians to think like victims, to hate society they live in. This toxic ideology is undoing decades of societal progress and racism and achieve equality among Canadians. Caps lock, it needs to stop.
This is such an obviously
Yeah.
important American
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Especially because it mentions Black Canadians.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
I
like,
mean, Black Canadian is the official nomenclature.
no,
for-
I know that the nomenclature is fine. It's just that is not really the focus
Yeah.
of race discussion in Canada.
usually
Yeah.
Indigenous
Typically,
here.
it's
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
Indigenous
Yeah.
reconciliation. So this is very much
Yeah.
transposing a Florida issue
Yeah.
Yeah.
into Mississauga.
Just
Yeah.
a little too much Fox News. To take Mississauga out of global control. I see. Yes, the WHO, the WEF, and the
Completely
UN.
unconnected
Yeah.
organizations.
I'm
WF
shocked
has
he-
nothing to do with the UN.
WHO,
Yeah, why wouldn't he go with like the World Bank and go with like the three Bretton institutions?
Those
Who
people
knows?
don't know those.
ICLIEI, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiative. Okay, whatever. As mayor, I will take Mississauga out of global control and will only initiate projects that serve the local residents who are designed to address local needs. Yes, sir. Yeah, honestly, I stand with him. Remove toxic fluoride from our drinking water.
This guy wants a fucking outbreak of cholera so bad.
Yes.
Fluoride is not even
It's
for
for teeth,
cholera.
right?
It's for teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it stops our
also
teeth from
fluoride
getting
in the
fucked
water
up.
has had no known negative health effects on any population,
Yeah.
but radically decreased cavity rates.
Yeah.
Bravo.
This-
This is so funny.
But there's also a
Yeah.
common conspiracy theory that fluoride in the water makes people dumber.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because didn't Alex Jones say some shit about
Yeah,
it?
but it's also
Frogs,
like if anything, city
Yeah, frogs,
water
yeah.
supplies
That's why I'm gay.
are less like are doing less IQ damage than they used to because we got rid of lead
Wait
pipes.
a second. I use
Yeah.
Brita filters. Is this why June comes around and I'm not yet gay?
Brita
I'm not
fil-
drinking.
Brita filters
the-
don't filter out fluoride.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
We're safe. We're safe. There's still time for me.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm working on it.
He's shock theraping me in my sleep. To give people
CBT.
back their voice. Did you know that Mississauga has the highest rate of mutes in Canada?
So that's David Shaw.
And that revisit Mississauga's independence from the region of Peel?
Oh, you don't hear about
Oh
this?
yes, the
Yeah.
constant Peel amalgamation threat. When I was in Oakville briefly, there were so many signs that are like stop Oakville from being
Oh, really?
amalgamated. Yeah.
I had no idea this existed.
This
This
is
is con-
huge.
this is
This
constant.
sounds awesome.
This is like decades long like proposal to integrate the cities west of Toronto into the like a single
Regions.
Peel city,
Yeah.
but that is just never gone
No,
anywhere.
but did you not hear what happened last year?
No.
Oh, they didn't?
Maybe.
Dang.
I haven't
About
heard
like
this.
Doug Ford was saying he was going to split up Peel region,
It did. It worked. Mississauga officially became independent, or was moving towards independence.
but then they stopped.
And then the Ford government, as soon as Mayor Crombie decided to run for Liberal leadership, they stopped
Yeah.
the independence and forced Mississauga back into Peel.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Good, good.
So
If
I love our provincial government so fucking much, man.
we almost became independent.
They're so clumsy. I love it.
All right, and then two last things. One is addressing the housing crisis.
Oh,
sure,
yes.
And the other is curbing property tax increases.
So he says he wants to put in 80,000 houses
Yeah.
because of that development thing I was talking about. So he's really big in housing.
Okay.
So if you like
That's
housing, this is your guy.
I,
And women's boards. in
Well,
certain-
now
and
that
keeping
I
trans
have
women in
a
women's
home,
sports.
Exactly.
you see, now that I have a home, I actually want the house prices to go up.
Yeah, of course.
So,
It's an investment.
Yeah.
As soon as Spencer
So-
inherits a property, he becomes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna start seeing him at local city meetings.
All right, we got time for one more guy.
Okay, well, the actual people who are probably going to win is either Alan Tejo, Deepika Damrela, Carolyn Parrish,
Is
or
Patrick-
John Dasco.
Is Patrick Brown not running?
Mayor Brampton.
Yeah, he's
He's
the Mayor
the
Brampton,
current
right.
Mayor Brampton.
Yeah.
Highly recommend if you have a chance, look up Carolyn Parrish's history because she's a very fascinating woman. She was an MP for a long time. She caused a diplomatic incident between Canada and the U.S., and the president officially asked her to leave.
Is this the
Canadian
voodoo
government.
doll incident?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I never heard of this. What is this?
The voodoo doll incident?
Did she have like a voodoo doll of Trump or something?
No, this is 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, so Bush?
She had she went. Do you know This Hour is 22 Minutes?
Vaguely.
This Hour is 22 Minutes is a Canadian satirical comedy show where it's kind of like SNL where they do a lot of political sketches and
Yeah.
whatnot. As one of the things, she wrote a long letter calling the Americans bastards. She later clarified the president, not the all Americans. And as part of the sketch, This Hour is 22 Minutes went to her office and started making her, say things about Americans and what she thinks about the American president. And as part of that, they gave her a little bobblehead of Bush. She then threw the bobblehead on the ground and stepped on it.
Yeah.
And that
Didn't she like rip off his head as well?
I don't know if she ripped off the head.
So
I
wait,
would be
this was the
surprised.
year 2000?
2002-ish.
Was this before
right,
they
I thought it
were-
was just like
after-
grab and rip,
So then
and that it's a
2003
bobblehead, so-
onward.
2003 onward, yeah.
Yeah.
And this caused a diplomatic incident. The
Yeah.
president officially called the prime minister asking her to be removed from
So
government.
she was a. Wait, from government? Was she a
She
diplomat?
was an MP.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh
It
my
became like
God.
an actual big deal. The American news made a whole deal of it, and so forth.
Yeah.
Then in 2010-ish, 2011-ish, she was running for councillor, and she famously ripped off the poster of one of her competitors on a door somewhere, and tore it away.
Which is a violation of like Elections Canada
Yep.
rules.
Yep.
You can't tear down signage for other parties. or
Man, we love
candidates.
a rule breaker.
Oh, well,
And
okay,
then-
I like this because it led to a whole bunch of incidents of like signs going out and then people putting a sign on either side of their
Yep.
opponent's sign so you couldn't
Yep.
see it. It's just like, and then they had like a distance rule so
Yep,
people would
yeah.
make like bigger signs and put them farther. It's just like an endless war.
Well, recently she got into hot trouble because she went on a mayor's debate.
Yeah.
And during the debate, she said something of the sort where refugees are all lazy, just smoking joints all the time.
Oh my
And
God.
why would anyone go to Brampton anyways?
Very
I
Mississauga
wonder
thing
what
to
she
say.
could be talking about. Huh.
Such a Mississauga thing to say.
Anyways, she's right at number one in the polls. So there's
Whoa.
a very high chance she'll win.
Man, this is so
Municipal
funny.
voters are like the most like insane people in the world. So it doesn't surprise me.
Take some like based anti-Iraq stand against the America kind of people, and then 20 years later is like a racist.
Yeah.
She's growing as a person.
But you know what? Yeah, she's kind of made it. She kind of like a big player for many years, one way or another, and continuing to work her way up.
Well, she's currently a city councilor.
Yeah.
There's 4 city councils running. She's one.
Yeah.
Deepika's the other one. She was the former minister of long-term care homes under
Yeah.
Liberals. That you can see how
Wait,
long-term care is
federally?
provincially.
Provincially.
It's underneath Win.
So wait, when she was federal and she had that
No,
incident,
different one, different government, different person.
oh, different.
Sorry, I
person.
went to a different councilor.
Okay.
Third councilor running is Alvin. He ran for Liberal leadership recently.
Like the chipmunk guy?
Alvin Tejo.
Whoa.
Alvin Theo.
Yeah.
He's currently putting in a law. He wants to reduce property or freeze property taxes and
Yeah.
make fourplexes everywhere. That's his dream.
Bet.
Alvin
He will not.
Alvin S. Theo. The S stands for
He will
Simon.
not succeed.
He's third right now.
No, in the implementing fourplexes,
Oh, no.
your average Mississaugan will not stand for
Yeah,
fourplexes.
yeah.
The Hitlerite small homeowner.
Any other interesting figures to cover?
The final one I'll go through is Mike Matulowicz.
Matulowicz.
Just because he's kind of a cute guy. Like he's like a
He
really,
looks like Robin Dawes.
Yeah, he does look like Robin does.
he's just a cute guy. He was a police officer for 34 years.
Mhm.
And he's like, policing accounts for 43% of your property taxes, and he's like bold and italicizes it. And
Yeah.
he's like, we should change that.
He's a big believer in the police are not actually doing their jobs anymore, which I've been saying.
Yeah, he's
They're a bunch of lazy union slobs.
No, it's not even that they're union slobs. It's literally because in 2020 everyone got mad at the police and like, well then we won't do anything. Then.
well.
It's sort of like I'm maliciously doing nothing. 'Cause it's like everyone will just get mad at us. If
doing even less than they did before.
When was the last
Can we
time
get much
that you
lower?
saw a cop eating a fresh baked donut?
So true. Before COVID, literally all the time. Before 2020, I would see them all the time. Nowadays, can't see a cop in a Tim Hortons to save your damn
They're
life.
slacking off on their quota.
Well, I mean, his entire thing was he had his car like almost stolen within 36 hours of parking his car for the first time, and he called the police asking for help, and the police didn't do anything.
Wait, it was a Toyota Highlander.
Yeah.
Isn't that the?
When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
And so he's so pissed off. He's like, we need to fix this city.
I'm kind of not sympathetic to him because of the car choice that he had.
Oh.
Bought a Toyota Highlander.
Yeah,
It was a 2021.
You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. My parents bought a car last year, and it seems like anything made after 2015 is like $30 million to buy.
Yeah. Well, they had like, what was it? During COVID, they had that one brief moment where a used car was more expensive to buy than a new car. And then everyone kind of realized, what the fuck? And then new cars just tripled in price
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
why not?
But the one thing I do like what he says is he wants to bring doctors to Mississauga, so he's going to pay up student loans up to $100,000 and give them no property tax.
That's good.
And it's
That's good.
specifically for family physicians, which
Yeah.
there is a critical shortage of.
So
But,
that's
like,
interesting.
Does that mean they'll open practices in Mississauga, or are they just gonna start living there?
Almost
I mean,
certainly.
Because
think
I'm pretty
you're
sure
on.
like
okay,
95%
No,
of the.
so he doesn't have a commit. He says that there has to be a commitment to serve Mississauga too.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say like 95% of Toronto's doctors already live in like
Yeah.
Mississauga.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Work from home shit.
Literally.
So that's the crux of all the people running for
What about
Mississauga.
what about the Gong Show?
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Oh
it.
my god.
Yeah. So one thing I guess I'm not in Mississauga, so I don't know the signage situation over there, but I do know that almost doxed myself. Oops. I have seen on the highway. There are just vans that go around covered with gong
Oh
signs.
yeah, I saw that with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I think.
And they
Saturday.
go around several times a day. So I think what's happening
Where
is
you
instead
live?
of around where I live,
Yeah, it was like
and
taking a
around
ride.
where I work, I've seen them.
You've seen them.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen
And
You do
I-
not live in Mississauga.
I don't.
We were like
No.
driving back to his place from coffee, and like we just saw one right beside
Recently?
us. Yes,
Yeah,
last
yeah.
Saturday.
No, they've been going around for a few weeks, and I think instead of spamming signs everywhere to get more coverage of just like the wider area, he's just hired a bunch of people to like drive a few vans around every now and then to try to get as many eyes on him as possible.
One of the most insane backstory on Gong is that he gave a speech to the UN.
Oh fuck, really?
Yeah, like what?
That's
Have you
crazy.
seen it?
I have.
How have we not reported on this?
Oh,
need
did
to-
you?
Jeez, we need to find this.
In 2016.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Gong was appointed to deliver a keynote speech on corporate sustainable development at the UN.
damn.
And now he has like fraud cases, right?
Yeah, he was charged with fraud in China and New Zealand.
Well, my
For, like,
favorite thing
pyramid
is
schemes.
the new addition to his website on his timeline of life.
Yeah.
Also, he changed the signs, by the way. I'm not sure if you noticed that.
Oh, because the sign we
1
saw
to
was the
3%
pretty
property
much the
tax.
same-
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
Basically, it's the same sign, except in the corner it says 2 to 3% lower property tax. So it's very clear what his policy is.
Yeah.
But he's added a new statement to his website on his timeline. Can you read out the statement for 2023?
Mr. Gong ran for the mayoral election in Toronto for the sole purpose to serving the public.
You and everyone else. You and half this city, bucko.
That's the only reason he
Yeah.
ran.
When does the Mississauga election happen?
Oh my god, I love his picture for affordable housing.
Oh my god, we talked about
That should be the
Wait.
thumbnail.
Didn't we talk about this recently? It's like those Chinese pod ads that
Yes.
you get all the time.
Oh my.
Oh my
This is
god,
an
those
audio
things are the
medium.
best.
behind all of them.
This is an audio medium. Can
Yeah,
you
it-
explain the
Okay,
house?
this is okay. Oh fuck! I want to say this is like a futuristic bug pod housing.
Yeah.
But
It's
don't
like a
know if you
trailer
guys
park
can
house,
picture
but
that.
for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like floor to ceiling glass windows in
Yeah.
the bedroom.
In the bedroom,
so
too,
your
yeah.
neighbors can see you plow your wife.
His other big policy that he wants to implement is establish Canada's first indoor Disneyland, extending its influence to the Great Lake Economic Circle of the U.S. and Canada.
Indoor Disneyland? What the fuck?
Canada's first.
There's an indoor
Also,
Disney-
the world's first, I'd imagine.
Dude,
The point
do
of
you
Disneyland is that
understand?
okay. First of all, Disneyland would have to compete with the established Canada's Wonderland,
Yeah.
which is right next
Maybe,
to this.
I want to believe that he got confused and thought it was Canada's Wonderland, not Disneyland.
But also, like, the point of Disneyland and Canada's Wonderland is that they're
Outdoors.
outside.
yeah, well, they're
Like,
outside,
they're
but
like-
also it's like
they're
they're
roller coaster
huge.
parks.
Yeah.
They have like
Yeah.
a bunch of different
do it
areas.
inside.
Like,
Yeah,
would you
we just do roller
So
coasters.
this is just Great Wolf Lodge, but Disney themed.
But with
and
like,
also
roller-
like
Just imagine.
400 times the area.
You just go to the suburban wasteland that is Vaughan, Ontario. You go on what's the biggest coaster at Wonderland again?
Leviathan.
Leviathan, yeah.
Leviathan,
right,
and you get to the top, and there's still like 50 meters above you, and then there's this roof. You can't see anything.
So somebody knows that.
Yeah, it's just a warehouse.
Well, to be fair, Edmonton West Mall are things
Yeah,
like
but
this.
Edmonton West Mall has
Whoa.
nothing compared to Canada's Wonderland.
Yeah, but like just imagine Canada's Wonderland encased in like the warehouse shell. It's like the exposed rafters, corrugated iron.
The shell for it would have to be like that fucking Costco from Idiocracy. Like, that's how big it would have to be. You'd be like walking for 40 minutes through all the pillars and shit.
Or
We
it
should
should
get
be the
Xi Jinping to
SpongeBob like roller coaster that he and Patrick go on,
Yeah.
where it's like.
The little bump.
We should get on this as a Canadian mega project. Get like the Chinese infrastructure bank to invest in it.
Yeah, if we're like grifters, right? If we're trying to come up with a good grift, we could almost certainly find a way to siphon money from this project for no benefit of the world.
Of course.
Well, the thing is, you have to already know Doug Ford to do that.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Well, we got.
I bet I
Gong.
could find an in.
One more thing is when is the Mississauga election
This
happening?
Saturday.
Oh shit! Because I was gonna say because last year Gong had a float in the Toronto Pride Parade that I saw.
Yeah.
And it was very funny.
Holy.
And I was
That was kind of pride.
I was hoping beyond hope that like it would happen after Mississauga Pride so we could see Gong again.
I don't think Mississauga has Pride.
I hope he forgets when the day
in both,
is. and
Yeah.
both
does.
senses of the word.
Yes.
I hope there is a gong slide at Gong. Sorry, it comes out weird. At like the end of the month, the election is done, and he still brings it out once
Yeah.
more. I think that would be fun.
That
so
would be funny.
there
Because
is.
he kind of is
There
a
isn't.
hype man of
Yeah.
Toronto.
So there's only a Pride fire truck, and that's about it.
There's no Pride Parade.
God damn.
Just a fire truck.
It's Jober. It's Jober.
It's Joe.
Throughout the month of June, My Way buses around the city will display Pride Month on the electronic destination signs on the front and curbside of the bus.
Are they
gonna
bring back the jingle?
Wait, doesn't
The
Helium?
chime?
Oh my god, the chime. That was an early Theory 9 Canada cover.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
that's a
yeah, I
sound
remember.
one, right?
Yes, that was only on the
Oh.
TTC.
I remember hearing.
screeching of Pride Month.
When I heard it, I didn't hear any of like the horrendous quality. I think because I was when I was still finishing my thesis and I never left the house.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that people had to be told that it was like supposed to be a Pride Month jingle.
People just
Like-
thought it was just like an audio error. Alright, let's move on from the Mississauga mayoral election unless there's anything else you want to cover.
Nope, that's everything for me.
Okay, in Toronto, meanwhile, there isn't an upcoming election, but there is an upcoming service disruption.
Or potential.
Oh, yeah.
We have like 24 hours to tell whether that's going to happen. Potential TTC
Yes,
strike.
the TDC union might go on strike.
The last time they did this, was it in like the 80s?
No, so okay, I have all these freaking notes here.
All right.
So, the strike is by members of the ATU Local 113, which represents about 11,500 of the 16,000 TTTC employees. The last strike was in 2008, which lasted 2 days before there was back to work legislation passed. And then, like 3 years later, in 2011, the TTC was deemed an essential service by the province and therefore banned from striking. And last year, that decision was overturned by a court, and a recent appeal by the Ford government to like reverse that decision was rejected. So for the first time in like 16 years, the TTC is able to strike, and it does. I am of the opinion that it is very likely because the TTC, like the ATU 113, they're saying like we're not seeing any progress. The city's saying we're confident we're going to get to a decision. If like the union itself is, if it's playing tough here by saying that, then like it's cutting it pretty damn close.
But that's the same which happened with the teachers. Remember, the teachers were like, "We're going to strike. It's going to happen," and then they didn't strike in the end.
I know, but like how close of a was it to like the time where they could lead?
Like the morning.
Okay, because the TTC strike will start at 12:01 a.m. Friday.
I had, except for the one ET. Well, I guess there was those big strikes last year, so maybe.
Yeah.
I think we should let the strike happen. Never pay them. But instead, to solve the issue, buy every single Torontonian a car.
Nice.
And we could solve this.
Do you know, like actually related to that?
Yeah.
Build the Spadina Expressway.
So
for real.
How about
Whoa.
So Uber has said that they're going to be providing a lot of incentives during the strike
Yeah.
to use their services.
Yeah.
So they're swooping in. Uber said that when the Vancouver went on a strike, they got a 70% boost in number of active drivers.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Active drivers. Well, I guess is that like people signing up or just people like popping in
People
for
to
that
sign
day?
up to drive.
Yeah.
Well, it seems the Uber statement is not like, yay, 70% uptake in business. It's, oh crap, over the TTC immediately.
So I was reading a few articles. I didn't read this one, but Uber specifically made a statement of we do not have the capacity to cover transportation if the city goes under. And I mean, of course, there's still cab companies, but everyone forgets they exist now.
Yeah, Beck taxis. Like
And a
eating
lot
good.
of them are worker co-ops, I believe.
Are they actually?
Yeah.
Taxis?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think that.
Depends.
This
always
man sees
depends on the-
worker
Royal
co-ops.
taxi, co-op taxi
This man sees worker co-ops everywhere.
is yeah, a bunch of the taxi services are all under kind of one thing and they're co-ops, I
So
thought.
co-op.
Unless I'm
cab-
just completely bugging.
There
Co-op?
is a co-op cabs company,
Hey,
but I don't think Beck is.
I don't think Beck.
I'm not sure about Beck, but I think Royal is.
Huh.
Well, there's literally co-op cabs.
Yeah.
But Beck, I'm sure, is not.
Alright, well let's get back to
Yeah. So far, you know, it's still up in the air. By the time this comes out, the strike might have been avoided or it's ongoing. But we know that the membership has voted overwhelmingly for a strike vote, or for a strike. I will say that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a strike because when I was a TA at Queens, we almost went on strike. Almost, quotes, we voted for a strike mandate overwhelmingly, but a deal was then made. A lot of the time, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to strike. It's often saying like, hey, if it comes to this, the union membership will strike.
yeah.
So
put
it's
the
mostly,
pressure on.
it's a negotiating tactic first.
Yeah.
And then the demands are mostly like wages and benefits, and also job security because the TTC was looking at like contractors as for bus drivers. So the TTC, the
Terrible idea.
yeah. The HEU says like no to contractors, and also they want to have like the TTC put more in place for like workplace safety. Because like, you know, last year there was like some highly publicized incidents of violence on the TTC against both customers and employees.
Fires and all that.
It's
Yeah.
like Uber for buses.
Yeah.
Do you know like has the wage gone up at all or gone enough?
This is the one thing I haven't paid attention to, and the thing is that the union hasn't told what exactly their demands are, because they have said they don't want to be accused of negotiating through the press. They just kind of have broadly sketched their outlines.
Okay.
But like, I mean, it's also kind of a negotiating thing because if they like put all of what they're demanding out there in the negotiations,
Yeah,
it could say like, oh, you're trying to like turn the public against us. You're negotiating in bad faith. We're not going to negotiate with you on these terms.
I'm just so used to teachers doing that and like it working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Or at least somewhat working, not always.
Yeah, I don't know how necessarily the TTC works. I'm like in that regard with their unions, but yeah, I will say that part of the desire for the increase is coming at a time where the TTC is like not in great shape.
Yeah.
It does have a budget for this year an operating budget of $2.6 billion, which it seems like quite a lot. But here's the big number, is that as of this year, at the start of it, it had a state of good repair backlog of $26.4 billion. So, and that number is expected to increase over the next decade by $8.2 billion. So
That's actually not that much of an increase, relatively speaking.
Honestly, yeah.
But that includes what they pay off, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because they already have a backlog of almost $26.5 billion just to keep the TTC running.
Yeah, I was gonna say like $2 billion. Whoa, big number. But when you think of how far $1 million goes for things, like in terms of especially like huge services, $1 million is pretty much nothing.
Yeah,
Like it'll get a thing done, $1
million.
And then like $2 billion to give reliable transportation service to the entirety of Toronto it sounds small, really.
Yeah, and another thing is that I think, say like your average bus on the street of Toronto today, if you want to buy a new one of those, I think the average cost for one bus is like $4-something million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like even take every single bus route in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
How many buses are running those routes consistently? Add on to that the subway systems and all of that.
And the LRT, which is yet to open.
Yeah, the LRT, which might open.
Is that TTC
like,
or Metrolinx?
Well, it's built by Metrolinx, but will be part of the TTC system as like Line 5 on the subway.
So there are 2,100 active buses.
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me see.
So you said how much?
This is rolling
Billion?
stock.
2.2?
Its operating system is $2.6 billion as of this year, and
Montreal
it's
1.77.
a 7.5% increase from last year.
Yeah.
But again, like the TTC has like this massive backlog of state of good repair.
Yeah.
That will take a very long time to deal with, and we've already kind of seen some of the cracks. They're showing in museums at Museum Station earlier this year. They found that a switch had broken, and if trains had been going over, like they just found it very early in the morning, and they shut down a whole section of the line for most of the day. And if a train had gone over this at speed, it would have caused a derailment.
Yeah.
And
Especially in that tight corner, that's horrifying.
yeah, so this museum's actually one south of St. George. This was a switch. So when the TTC was built, when Line 2 was built, they kind of tried to do a really crazy thing where it's like you can just take one train from one subway to the end of the subway to the other. So like this was a switch for turning on to the lower platform at Bay, because
I see.
as a part of this older system, Bay was built with 2 platforms, but that's no longer used now except for like promotional stuff and filming.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this switch, and the streetcar system itself is also in like a really bad system of repair.
Yep.
If you've ever been on a streetcar, you notice they go incredibly slowly. Some of it's being stuck in traffic, but others, if you just look at the tracks themselves, a lot of concrete around the tracks has started to crumble. And sometimes there's like voids near or underneath the rails, and the switches are in bad repair. So the TTC covers, both the streetcar and the subway infrastructure, so it's a really wide system in a kind of a state of decay.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been helped by like the Tory mayoralty, where nothing really
Nothing ever happened.
Nothing ever happened. City budgets didn't really increase.
Except for that one affair. That happened.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was so surprised that ended his career, in the sense of like just of all the batshit stuff that Ford got up to.
Well, I mean, it was literally just an excuse for him to bow out gracefully, I think.
I guess. But like the thing is, he literally just won a re-election.
Yeah, but I could like, honestly, I think it was just like sort of a Rishi Sunak might be the time to leave.
Yeah.
To preserve my legacy.
Yeah, although admittedly, John Tory is one of those like boring old political guys from the Ontario establishment who are all like my dad's age, he seems like he would be the kind of guy to quit over like a sex scandal.
That is true. Yeah.
He's not like
I do
crackhead
love
energy.
how like quitting over a sex scandal. On one hand, like I get it, but on the other hand, the fact that nothing happened ever over any actual policy just shows that we just want a little bit of drama. That's what government is about. Is we just get a little bit of drama.
Yeah,
He was
admittedly,
elected
his
because-
mayoralty was incredibly boring, so I guess everyone wanted some like memories of Doug or Rob Ford.
Well,
Yeah.
he was elected because Rob Ford was very chaotic in nature, so they wanted the least chaotic person. So when he did a sex scandal, that's chaotic.
But the thing
guess
is that Rob Ford had to bow out of that election because he found out he had stomach cancer,
Yeah.
and then he died like the next year.
Yeah.
So like with him out of the way, the field was wide open, and that was like the first mayoral election Olivia Chow ran.
Yep, but she lost badly, and Doug lost.
Our glorious dictator, Olivia Chow.
Oh, I actually, speaking of Olivia Chow, my mom has beef with Olivia Chow
my God.
No way.
personally.
Oh my god!
Not because of any policy issue with Olivia Chow. It's literally because my mom is like a competitive runner.
Yeah.
So she does like marathons and stuff.
Yeah.
And when she was doing the Toronto Marathon back when Jack Layton was still alive, Jack Layton and Olivia Chow are like big Toronto figures, right?
Yeah.
So Jack Layton and Olivia Chow showed up to the marathon and had registered to run in it. But what they did was to get like a good photo, they joined the runners at the front, which is like the fast people who are going to immediately book it.
Yeah.
Right. So they all this like photo. They brought in all this photo equipment and like staffers, and they were just basically like delaying the start of the marathon.
Yeah.
And then like when the marathon went ahead without them getting out of the way, they basically got bowled over and like ruined everyone's time.
That's funny.
That I honestly I kind of beef with her now too. I get it. I would be so cheesed.
Yeah, like because if you're like a competitive runner and the time counts to your qualifications in other marathons.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, this is something that always happens with photo ops and all of that, where it's like, I've seen it happen with Dougie, I've seen it happen with Trudeau and all of that, and since Ontario is the only place in Canada that's about as much as I know, where they'll do a photo op somewhere, and everyone will just say like, oh yeah, they weren't helping, they just shut down a quarter of the space we could do for our operation and just got in the way for like 2 hours and then left, and we could resume work after they left. And like, I don't know, this is why we need muscle and fitness, what's it called, baselines for everyone running in politics. So that when these events happen and they go to do their photo shoots and help out, they will just be thrown into the mix. And they'll have to pick the shit up fast, actually start helping. And then a couple people can take some pictures of them.
Get
and then
wrecked
they can go.
disables people.
Like, you know what? Maybe this is a bad idea.
All right. Any other interesting information about this strike?
Yeah, there was a few points that I hadn't covered that I think is necessary. The Wheel-Tran.
That's like the disabled buses.
Yes,
Yeah.
that you can call. They will still be running.
Okay.
I think as like sort of like an active
And
good
there are
faith on
about
the
200 of those in their stock?
Yeah, they're saying like we're gonna still have these operate for like people getting to appointments and stuff. And the other thing that's more interesting is that since 1950, there's been about 9 TTC strikes in like almost 75 years.
Yeah.
So of those, about 4 of them lasted longer than 10 days.
I mean, that's half.
Yeah, half. And that varied wildly.
That shuts down the city for like.
It shuts down the city. So like
Especially now. Back then, probably not as much.
Back then.
that was true, not as much because a lot more people drove back then.
Yeah.
So in the past, those strikes weren't as disruptive. The longest, it's termed labor dispute because it wasn't really a strike, was 41 days.
That's a month.
I think in the 70s.
Yeah.
And apparently it was that long because there was like pretty drawn out stretches between negotiation periods. I think apart from that outlier, there was 2 that were over 20 days. The rest of them have been like around a little over a week, and then there was 2 that were like with it less than 3 days. So it's gonna suck. if
Yeah.
it goes to strike.
So,
But
according
it
to
might not
the-
be horrible. Like it probably will not last longer. At the most, a month, which is still
Yeah,
like
40 days is also like it's the 70s. It's the last convulsions of the dying labor movement.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not quite the situation now.
According to the TTC website, they do according to the City of Toronto, sorry, not TTC website, City of Toronto, they do 1.7 million daily users.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
insane.
Like, the TTC is a well-used system. It's the third most used transit system in North America.
After Mexico and New York.
I think New York is first, then Mexico City,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Toronto,
Well, I mean,
and
we're
then
also-
Montreal is fourth, and
That's,
then
okay, because Toronto is the fourth largest city in North America. That's not that far off then.
at least in terms of like city proper, not metro area.
Yeah, we're fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but still, 1.7
like-
million is a lot for daily people.
Yeah.
If you go by metro area, like Chicago blows Toronto out of the
Yeah.
water, but if you go by actual like
City limits.
Toronto is about
That's
the size
why
of Chicago.
I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of Mike Harris amalgamating Toronto.
Yeah. We love Harris on this
Big
podcast.
fan.
Everything.
Oh, another thing you'll like is one of the reasons why the TTC gets less funding than it used to is also because of Mike Harris.
We
Before-
hate Harris on this podcast.
before like the 90s, the province would usually chip in around 8% of the TTC's total funding, and then after that it was just basically removed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where Metrolinx is supposed to come in. So the province is supposed to start coming back into it slowly.
Metrolinx is mostly just like it runs the GO trains, it helps do stuff, but there's
May I
no.
have your attention, please? The time is now 8:02 and the library will be closing in 28 minutes. If you need to sign out material, please come to the service desk now. The library is closing in 30 minutes.
Now
Keep
this
that.
is epic. Yeah, I'll keep that.
We can just keep
We'll be kicked out of here at 8:15, which is in 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got time.
Yeah. So like,
That didn't dox us, right? It didn't say which library?
No.
No.
Okay, perfect.
no.
Also, we don't live near this library.
We don't
Yeah.
know that. We might.
Yeah, so the Harris administration basically got, or maybe it was Harris, I don't know, maybe it was Bob Ray, and maybe I'm totally wrong here, but in the 90s, the TTC lost that regular provincial funding, which makes the TTC an outlier in North America, in that a lot of North American transit agencies and global transit agencies have at least some of their operations funded by regional governments.
Oh, you know you're about to see some heat when a conservative government calls something the common sense revolution.
Oh, that's
Yeah, this was Harris.
Oh man. Oh,
Which, among
man.
other things, cut 42 million Canadian dollars in provincial financing support for the Eglinton West subway line alone.
Yeah, he was kind of infamous for that because they started building a subway under Eglinton, starting from the Eglinton West subway station, and the tunnels were already being dug, and then he just canceled it and had those tunnels filled in.
And now we have to dig them again. And it is going terribly.
Well, the tunnels are already dug. Everything's
Yeah.
already built. We
we don't know why they're keeping
There's
it
6 okay, I
There's
saw
there's a
something
lot of
where they were
issues
talking
behind the
about the
scenes.
issues, and they were like, there are like
Listen, they can't even operate the
Thousands.
stuff they currently have without it falling apart.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing is also as a part, I think actually no, the TTC might be operating the crosstown, but the Finch West LRT, which is going to be line 6, that's close to being done, I think that's being operated by the consortium that built it
Yeah.
for a period of 30 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
Will that be accessible by Presto card is the main question.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
it's going to be
Presto
part of
and
like
credit card, I believe, right now.
yeah,
yeah, I
it's
think they're
any
allowing both.
Finch West will be a part of the regular subway network and all that entails. The only difference is that it's going to be, operated and maintained by like a bunch of private companies.
Dude, isn't it crazy that the TTC regressed in the last couple years? They lost the Scarborough line.
Yeah, no, I mean, we
Like,
don't really have time to get
how?
into it, but like they
Yeah, we
just
got time.
so the Cliff Notes version of it is just it was so like when it was built, I think people, or at least the city in some ways thought, oh, this is kind of like a gimmick thing that's more temporary, and it was just never properly maintained. And about 20 years ago or 15 years ago, it was like nearing the end of its like operational life, quote unquote. And then they thought, oh well, we'll just like remove this and replace it with like an extension of Line 2 subway into Scarborough to like mirror the service. But the thing is that like everything in Toronto, that can got kicked down the road, and
Nothing ever happens.
it was supposed to close, I think, like last year or the year before, and there was a derailment because of something or other. I think like this rail had lifted up and it wasn't caught in any sort of examination, and it caused the train to derail and it injured a few people. So they just decided to shut it down early because it was a few months before the official shutdown in November, and they did an inquiry into it and they just kind of found, deficiencies in maintenance of it. But the whole point is that I think, this didn't need to happen. If they had maintained it properly, you could have done it longer, because it's an incredibly rare thing to just close a
I
transit
think
line.
this is like the only city in the world that's in a period of 30 years has decreased the number of subway lines.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that number, but it is something that seems like it would be kind of like uniquely Toronto.
Yeah.
Just kind of like this really pathetic.
Replaced with a bus.
Yeah.
It also, like, derailments are really hard to make happen.
Yeah.
We do it.
We make that shit, that's us. We own it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like we
Is it
make
North America in
sure
North America
to
in
not
general?
check anything.
We love train
Yeah, North
derailments.
America in general, it's like waiter, more train derailments.
Yeah.
We had like Ottawa had a bunch of train
Lack
derailments.
Plus the U.S.
Yeah.
is constantly having train
Yeah, they
derailments.
had what
East
East
Palestine?
Palestine.
East
Yeah,
Palestine.
East Palestine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think.
Okay, and sorry, just to jump in, quick gripe I have. Vancouver, I took your SkyTrain and it was underground. What
False
the
advertising.
fuck?
False advertising alert.
That was the most shit experience I've ever had. Anyways, Liam, continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, kind of part of this whole Scarborough RT tragedy in Toronto was just they have only just now, really within the past 6 months, started to build that extension for Line 2.
So we're gonna get by the time we're 40.
Not
Yeah,
you'll be
prob-
dead. Probably. Dead and buried.
Yeah, knowing Toronto, but like I think it's just kind of just emblematic of just the insane way this city treats transportation.
What will happen is there will have been like a communist revolution, and then the Communist Party of Canada will collapse Soviet Union style, and then there will be like a Russian Federation style reactionary government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then about 20 years into that, they'll finally finish the extension.
Yeah.
We'll get some sick video games out of that.
Yeah. We need to just have more of those post-Soviet metros that were basically all under construction during the collapse, stopped
Yeah.
for 5 years, continued on.
Yeah.
Speaking of revolutions, I feel like you want to talk about a revolution that happened in Latin America.
Which is this? Is
We
this
got like
the
a
Mexico
couple
one?
minutes.
Yeah.
We out here girl bossing it.
Yeah.
Didn't we cover this at the start?
We kind of like chatted.
We
yapped a little
mentioned
bit about
that
it.
there was a turnover.
You love to see a girl boss winning.
Yeah.
Mexico has a new progressive
Her name's
female
Stein.
president.
Steinbaum.
And,
Yeah.
It's first Jewish president too.
yes,
Yeah.
first Jewish president, though, according to Israel, not Jewish enough. So she's really losing on both fronts
Wait,
there.
why is
Not
she
that
not Jewish?
not that it's bad.
Because she's been an vocal
Oh,
anti-Zionist
okay.
for
Not
the
because
past 10
like
years.
not like because her mom is a Gentile.
Sorry,
or
what was
something
it?
like that.
Both her parents are Jews
Okay,
who
that-
were Holocaust survivors.
That she's a full.
Why isn't she Jewish?
Because she's anti-Zionist.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think
it's
also
not
her
that it
husband's a
affected
Gentile.
her popularity.
That's
It
allowed.
didn't matter because she won in an incredibly like popular fashion.
Yep.
But there are some people sitting out there who are like, oh, Mexico is now run by the Jews. And on the other hand, you have Israel. Like she said, praise Jesus. She's not actually Jewish.
I think
It's
people
like-
were going off on, like, psychos were talking about this on Twitter a lot. She, in her, like, speech when acknowledging her, when she said she thanked Jesus, but Jesus, her husband is Jesus. Her husband's name is Jesus. Like, literally.
But yeah, she's like a climate scientist. I believe, was she the mayor of Mexico City?
Yeah, she was the
No,
mayor.
governor.
Governor?
Yeah, because I guess it's his
Yeah.
own state.
Yeah, it's the state's the governor.
Yeah.
And
And she seemed to do, like, an all-right job of it, too.
yeah. There you go. I don't really have the most here because I was trapped in Trudeau's traffic. He was trying to stop our podcast from happening.
Yeah. CSIS was trying to stop us.
Well, I
But-
know she is. It's rare, but because she is the continuation of the last guy.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And he, with including like talking to the elves and the forest spirits and all of that, incredibly popular. And the legacy continues because she won with what, like 60% of the vote or something, which is like
58%.
an absolute
A
blowout.
blowout, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Especially in like country with that many parties.
yeah. Like you don't really like we haven't seen this type of popularity and excitement for people
Yeah.
in like a minute, I think.
I mean, it's like the whole election was kind of almost cast as like a referendum on AMLO's policies because Scheinbaum is kind of like his political heir specifically.
Yeah.
And I mean, she seems like she's also like good in her own right.
Yeah, well, I know she's like an IPCC scientist. Right?
Yeah.
She's like an official.
And
Yeah,
she
she
did a
has-
decent, like, I've heard that she did
has
a decent
her
job.
name on a paper, I think, that has a Nobel Peace Prize related to
Yeah.
it. That's for climate science. So it is
Yeah.
actually like actual girl boss in it. We have someone who actually like knows some shit
Yeah.
that's running the country, which is refreshing to see.
And AMLO is a big nationalizing guy, and I'm assuming she's.
Yeah,
supports that.
AMLO is kind of like your classic developmentalist, third world social democrat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like Morena's party. Like, kind of like how Lula is in Brazil.
Right, so I'm assuming she's gonna try to nationalize or try to at least make state companies to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so
there was that for like hydrocarbons, stuff like that
That's
was
beautiful.
a big thing, and
That's
that also frustrated a lot of people. I looked a bunch into this, and like 90% of what I could find was just like libertarian think tanks absolutely fucking fuming.
As soon as
and
she was
I just kind of
elected.
like I look at that, and whenever the libertarian think tanks are fuming, you know something good is gonna happen. There's also a lot to do with what's the word for? It's not like offshoring it's like close shoring,
Nearshoring.
nearshoring your production.
Well, it was
because
onshoring or
that's
something.
that's a big thing that's
Oh,
happening where
friendshoring.
people are like switching out their production instead of going like Americans, instead of putting all their production like China all the way across the world, they're slowly like Mexico is starting to match.
So yeah, we
it.
gotta head out.
We're
All
talking
right.
about French shoring, which is what Christopher Freeland helped coin.
Yeah, so we'll have a bigger report on this as well as India, I think, coming in soon.
Next
yeah.
episode is a special episode, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot on the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
All right, catch
All right.
up.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.